She supported her entire family for 10 years, paid every single debt, renovated the house with her own money. But on her 35th birthday, her mother dropped a bombshell. The house goes to Tyler, your brother. You get nothing. Her lazy, gaming-addicted brother who never worked a day gets everything? She smiled coldly and said, "Fine, then don't count on me anymore." 1 month after she cut off all financial support, her phone rang. Mom was sobbing. "Tyler mortgaged the house and lost everything. The bank is taking our home. Please save us." But they had no idea she already had the perfect revenge plan. But before we continue, write in the comments which country you're watching this video from. Enjoy listening. Emily had been waiting for this birthday without much excitement. 35, not 20. No milestone either, but deep down, she hoped for warm words, for attention from her closest ones, especially from Mom. The morning started as usual. Coffee, quick shower, checking work emails. In the kitchen, Margaret was already bustling, setting the table for the evening. Tyler, as always, slept until noon. "Happy birthday, sweetie!" Margaret pecked Emily on the cheek without pausing from chopping the salad. "We'll celebrate tonight." "Celebrate," it echoed in Emily's head. Yeah, celebrate, as usual, with her own money. She'd long gotten used to being the breadwinner in the family. Dad had died a few years ago, and all the care for Mom and her brother had fallen on her shoulders. Her salary was good. She didn't complain. But sometimes, she just wanted to feel like a woman, not a workhorse. In the evening, they gathered at the table. Margaret had cooked a feast. Tyler finally deigned to wake up and even put on a clean shirt. No gifts, as usual. She hadn't expected any. "Well then," Margaret solemnly raised a glass of juice. "To Emily, may everything be good for you. You're such a smart girl, such a hard worker." Emily forced a smile. The same old lines. She heard them every year. After the toast, Margaret cleared her throat and looked at Emily with a strange, guilty gaze. There's something we need to tell you," she began hesitantly. "Tyler and I wanted to say—" Tyler sat smirking, glancing at Emily with some superiority. It put her on edge. "In short," Margaret continued, "we decided, well, it just happened. The house is now in Tyler's name." Emily froze. It felt like something snapped in her head. The house in Tyler's name. The very house where she'd grown up, where she'd poured so much effort and money. "What?" she whispered, not believing her ears. "Well, it just happened," Margaret repeated, avoiding her gaze. "You see, Tyler's having a hard time right now. He needs to get his life together. And you earn well on your own. You won't get anything. The house goes to Tyler." The words echoed in Emily's stunned mind. She stared at her mother, her brother, unable to believe what was happening. How? How could they do this to her? Fragments of memories flashed. How right after college, she'd started helping her parents with repairs. How she'd paid off Mom's car loan. How every month she transferred money for utilities, bought groceries, clothes, medicine. Always putting the family's needs above her own. She remembered a few years ago when a pipe burst and flooded the whole house. She'd gone without sleep for days, running to stores for materials, negotiating with plumbers, overseeing the repairs. She'd blown a big project at work, got a reprimand from her boss, but regretted nothing. It was her home, her family. And Tyler? Tyler was playing video games back then, complaining he had nothing to wear to the club. Now he lounged in his chair, smirking. He knew. He'd known about the transfer and hadn't said a word. Emily felt a wave of rage and hurt rising inside. She'd been betrayed by her closest people on her birthday of all days. She silently stood from the table. "Fine," she said calmly, looking straight into her mother's eyes. "If that's how it is, then don't count on me anymore." Margaret tried to say something to justify herself, but Emily wasn't listening. She turned and left the room. In the hallway, she threw on her jacket and shoes. Where are you going?" she heard her mother's voice. "Somewhere I'm appreciated," Emily replied, opening the door. She stepped out, slamming it so hard the windows rattled. Outside it was cold and damp. Emily walked along the sidewalk, not caring where. One thought pounded in her head. How could they? Reaching the nearest bus stop, she boarded the first bus that came. It didn't matter where it went. She just needed to get far from that house, those people, that lies and betrayal. The whole ride, she stared out the window at the city's flickering lights, trying to process what happened. She knew her life had changed forever. Returning home late that evening, Emily first grabbed her phone and transferred all her savings to a separate account, out of reach for her mother and brother. She knew it was harsh, but she couldn't do otherwise. She had to protect herself. Then she opened her laptop and started searching for rental listings. She decided she didn't want to live in that house anymore, breathing the same air as those people. She needed her own space, where she could feel safe. Finding a few suitable options, Emily sent viewing requests. Tomorrow, she'd start a new life. She fell asleep with a heavy heart. Hurt and anger overflowed, keeping her awake. She tossed all night, replaying the day's events. It hurt. It stung. It scared her. Scared that her closest people turned out so alien and cruel. Scared that she'd have to start from scratch. Silence. Silence crashed over Emily after leaving her parents' home. Deafening silence. After years of familiar noise, arguments, pleas, reproaches. The silence of her new rented apartment, smelling of fresh paint and someone else's life. She'd rented a small one-bedroom on the city's outskirts. Nothing fancy, but hers. No photos on the walls, no reminders of the past, just the bare minimum furniture and a clean slate feeling. Emily dove headfirst into work. Accounting, reports, numbers. In that chaos, she found some order, some support. She stayed late, trying not to think, not to feel. Every morning, waking in the empty apartment, she felt the sharp pain of betrayal, but pushed it away. Forcing herself onward, she stopped sending money to her mother, stopped paying the house bills, stopped buying groceries. Total, absolute silence on finances. The first days, she flinched at every phone ring, expecting her mother's voice full of reproaches or excuses. But the phone stayed silent. Tyler didn't call either. Emily knew they probably hoped she'd come to her senses, crawl back begging forgiveness for her audacity. But she wasn't going to. A month passed. A month of silence. A month of independent life. Emily started getting used to the new routine. Lonely evenings with a book and tea. Quiet weekends doing whatever she wanted. No explanations to anyone. She even began to like it. For the first time in ages, she felt she was living for herself. One evening, as Emily finished dinner, the phone rang an unknown number. She hesitated before answering. "Hello," she said uncertainly. "Emily, it's Mom!" Margaret's trembling voice came through. "Sweetie, help us!" Emily went cold. She'd expected this call, but now, hearing it, she felt only irritation and fatigue. "What happened?" she asked dryly, keeping composure. Tyler messed up." Mom's voice broke. He took out a loan." Emily frowned. "Of course, Tyler. What else?" "A loan." "For what?" "He said it was for business, to start his own thing." Margaret sobbed into the phone. "But he lost it all." Emily stayed silent, waiting for more. She knew what was coming. "He took the loan against the house, Emily," Mom whimpered. "And now the bank threatens to take it. We'll have nowhere to live." Emily closed her eyes. There it was, just as she'd suspected. "And what do you want me to do?" she asked indifferently. "Help us, sweetie," Margaret begged. "I implore you, save our home. Tyler's so foolish. He didn't know what he was doing." "No, Mom," Emily said firmly. "But," Mom's voice edged into hysteria, "we're your family. You can't abandon us." "You abandoned me," Emily reminded her coldly. "When you transferred the house to Tyler, did you think of me?" Silence fell on the line. Emily knew Mom had no answer. "I don't want to talk about that," Margaret whispered. "Just help us, please. We'll fix everything." "No, Mom," Emily repeated. "I'm not fixing your mistakes anymore. You have to take responsibility for your actions." "But where will we go?" Mom sobbed. "To the streets?" "That's not my problem," Emily cut her off. "You made your choice." She hung up without waiting for a reply. Her hands shook. Anger and hurt boiled in her chest. She knew she'd been harsh, but she couldn't do otherwise. She wouldn't let herself be used again. All evening, Emily couldn't calm down. She paced the apartment like a caged animal, glancing at the phone. Part of her wanted to call back, say she'd help, that everything would be fine. But the stronger, firmer part held her back. The next morning, Emily felt drained. She went to work like a robot, trying not to think about the conversation. During lunch break, Justin called a lawyer friend from the bank she sometimes consulted on work matters. "Emily?" "Hi," he said cheerfully. "How's it going?" "Hi, Justin," Emily replied wearily. So, something wrong?" he asked. Emily hesitated but decided to tell him about the call from her mother. She knew Justin was smart and level-headed. She needed outside advice. After hearing her story, Justin paused, then said, "Tough spot, but there's a way out." "What?" Emily asked hopefully. "You could buy out the debt," Justin suggested. "The bank would gladly agree." "Buy out the debt?" Emily echoed. "But I don't have that kind of money." "You had savings," Justin reminded her. "Plus, you could take a loan. In your case, the bank would approve it, no problem." Emily pondered. It was risky, but maybe the only way to save the house. "And then what?" she asked. "What about my mom and brother?" "That's up to you," Justin replied. "You could let them stay or evict them. Your call, since the house would be yours." Emily went silent, weighing his words. It was a tough choice. On one hand, she wanted revenge to throw them out, make them feel what she'd felt. On the other, she couldn't imagine her mom and brother homeless. "Think it over carefully," Justin said. "It's a big decision. But if you decide to buy out the debt, I'll help with all the paperwork." "Thanks, Justin," Emily said. "I'll think about it." Hanging up, Emily stared out the window for a long time. Thoughts swirled. She realized this was her chance. A chance to regain control, to set things right. But she also knew this decision would forever change her family ties. She'd have to choose between revenge and compassion, justice and mercy, and that choice would shape her future life. Emily sat in Justin's office, watching the aquarium with lazily swimming fish. Their slow movements seemed like the calm she so lacked. Outside, the city buzzed, but here in the bank's sterile, quiet, problems felt distant and solvable. Justin, as always, radiated confidence and professionalism. "So, Emily, as I understand, the house situation needs immediate action," he began, setting aside some papers. His tone was even and businesslike. Emily nodded. "Mom called in hysterics. Tyler managed to mortgage the house and lost all the money. The bank threatens eviction." Her voice sounded tired. She felt wrung out like a lemon. Justin paused, considering. "There are options. The simplest. Let the bank take the house. But from what you've said, that's not what you want, even with the hurt." Emily sighed. "You're right. I don't want them on the streets, but I won't just bail them out either." "Then there's another option." Justin leaned forward slightly. "You can buy out the bank's debt. Essentially, become the creditor. And then? Then you do as you see fit." Emily frowned. "What do you mean, as I see fit?" "It means you can transfer the house to your name, pay off Tyler's debt, but in return, demand the house be signed over to you, legally and officially." Emily thought hard. The option tempted her. On one side, she'd save her family from disaster. On the other, she'd gain the control she'd lacked all these years. "Justin, this sounds too good to be true," she said, looking at him skeptically. "It's a legal way to fix it. The bank wants its money back, not court battles. Your family wants to avoid the streets. You want justice. Everyone wins." "And Tyler?" Emily asked. "Will he agree?" Justin shrugged. "He has no choice. Agree or be homeless. You can frame it as your goodwill, your rescue." Emily pictured Tyler's face when he learned the house was now hers. She couldn't help smiling. It would be fair after all she'd done for them. "Okay," Emily said, looking Justin firmly in the eyes. "I'm in. What do we do?" Justin smiled. "Great. I'll prepare all the documents. You'll need to talk to your mom and brother, explain, and get them to sign. That's the hardest part." Justin was right. Convincing her mom and brother was incredibly hard. Margaret, upon hearing Emily's proposal, burst into tears and laments. "Emily, sweetie, how can you? You want to take our last thing? Don't you see this is our home, our history?" Emily listened silently, arms crossed. She no longer believed the tears and wails. She knew it was just manipulation. "Mom, you signed the papers yourself when you transferred the house to Tyler. You decided I get nothing. Now face your choices," Emily replied calmly. "But, Emily, Tyler's your brother. You can't leave him on the streets." "I'm not. I'm offering a way out. I pay Tyler's debt, but in return, the house becomes mine. You can keep living there, but understand, it's my house now, and I'll set the rules." Margaret went quiet, mulling Emily's words. She knew they had no choice. If Emily didn't help, they'd be on the streets. "And Tyler?" she asked hopefully, looking at her daughter. "Will he agree?" "He has no choice," Emily echoed Justin's words. "Agree or be homeless." Tyler, learning of Emily's offer, flew into a rage. The room shook from his shouts, like a minor earthquake. "You have no right! This is my house!" he bellowed, jabbing a finger at Emily, who stood calmly in the doorway, arms crossed. Rage twisted his face, making him look like a spoiled child deprived of a toy. Margaret sat on the couch, head down like a scolded student. Her shoulders trembled, unclear if from tears or fear. "Your house, Tyler? Let's be honest. This house was never yours. You never lifted a finger to maintain it. All these years, who paid the bills, did repairs, bought food? You lived here like a parasite, and now, after nearly losing everything to your stupidity, you dare yell?" Emily spoke quietly, but steel rang in her voice. Tyler tried to approach her, but Emily stepped back. "Don't come closer. I don't want to touch you." Margaret lifted her head, hope mixed with despair in her eyes. "Emily, sweetie, don't throw us out. Where would we go?" "Forgive Tyler," he slipped up. "He'll change, I promise." Emily looked at her mom. She saw not just fear, but realization. Realization that her blind love for her son had led to this. "Mom, I'm not throwing you out, at least not yet. But things will change. No more loans, no games. You and Tyler live here, but by my rules." Tyler tried to object, but Emily cut him off with a gesture. "Quiet. You have no say. You've proven you can't be trusted with a dime. You'll do as I say. If you don't like it, leave. But remember, you've got nowhere to go." She pulled a paper from her bag and placed it on the table. "These are the conditions. Read carefully. If you agree, sign. If not, pack your things." Silence hung in the room. Margaret took the paper and read. Tyler stood frowning, as if not grasping what was happening. The conditions were simple and strict. Split utility payments evenly with Emily. Keep the house orderly, no clutter, no dirt. Help with chores. Margaret cooks and cleans. Tyler does heavy work inside and out. And most important, no alcohol, no gambling. Any violation, immediate eviction. "This is robbery," Tyler growled after reading. "You want to turn us into slaves?" "No, Tyler, I want you to become responsible people," Emily replied. "I want you to learn to value what you have. I want you to stop being a child and start thinking about the future. And if you think this is slavery, you just don't get real life." Margaret signed silently. She knew they had no choice. She knew Emily was right. She'd seen her son sliding into the abyss and realized only Emily could stop him. Tyler hesitated long but finally signed. He knew Emily wasn't joking. He saw determination in her eyes he'd never noticed before. He knew refusal meant the streets. Emily took the signed papers. "Good. Now you know the rules. And remember, I won't forget what you did, but I'm giving you a chance to make amends, a chance to prove you can be better." Leaving the house, Emily breathed deeply. The air felt clean and fresh. She looked at the house. It was no longer a symbol of betrayal and pain. Now it was her house, her fortress, her chance to build a new life. She got in her car and drove to her apartment. Silence and peace awaited her there. She could be herself. She could think about the future. That evening, Justin called. "How'd it go?" he asked. "Hard, but fair," Emily replied. "I knew you'd handle it," Justin said. "You're a strong woman, Emily, and you deserve happiness." "Thanks, Justin," Emily said. "You helped a lot." "I'm always here if you need me," Justin said. "And remember, you're not alone. You have friends, work, a future." Emily smiled. She knew Justin was right. She wasn't alone, and the future no longer scared her. Yes, she'd endured pain and betrayal, but she'd grown stronger. She'd learned to protect herself and value herself. Emily gave her family a chance to atone, to improve, and she hoped they'd take it. But if not, she'd be ready to let them go, because now she knew her happiness depended only on her. In the first week after the new rules, Emily visited the house with some apprehension. She didn't know what to expect. Would she see remorse and change, or face the old selfishness and resentment? Entering, she met unfamiliar quiet. The house was clean and tidy, which surprised her. Margaret bustled in the kitchen, preparing dinner. Tyler sat at the table, pretending to read a book. "Hi, Emily," Margaret said, trying to keep her voice steady. "How are things?" "All good, Mom," Emily replied. "How about you?" "We're trying," Margaret said. "Tyler's helping around the house." Emily looked at Tyler. He avoided her gaze. "Is that true, Tyler?" she asked. Tyler mumbled something unclear. "Show me what you've done," Emily said. Tyler reluctantly stood and led Emily to the yard. There, he showed her the firewood he'd chopped and the garden beds he'd weeded. Emily was pleasantly surprised. She saw Tyler was really trying, but she knew it was just the start. "Good, Tyler," Emily said. "Keep it up. And remember, this isn't just for me, it's for you." She returned inside and sat with Margaret. "Mom, I want you to know I'm not doing this out of anger," Emily said. "I'm doing it because I love you, and I want you happy," Margaret cried. "I know, sweetie," she said. "I know we did wrong, and I'm so sorry." Emily hugged her mom. "It'll be okay, Mom," she said. "We'll get through it together." In that moment, Emily felt the ice between them melting. She realized her family deserved a second chance, and she was ready to give it. But she also knew it would be a long, hard road. Yet she was prepared, because now she had the strength, the will, and the hope. And that's all she needed.